The sea is a big place, and it has access to the entire world, which is why people want to travel the great ocean blue. With all the water on Earth, whoever controls the sea can control trade from most places. Sea travel does not come without dangers such as strong currents, dangerous weather, shark attacks, sharp hidden rocks, pirates, and incoming land. This is why lighthouses were invented. The first one being in Alexandria, Egypt, at 285 BC, which was just a bonfire and a tower as a beacon to show where home was to those had been far away. Lighthouses are necessary because they are used to warn boats of rough terrain and incoming land. They are also used to help with communicating between boats. Lighthouse keepers can also help in emergencies with rescuing stranded sailors. Back in the colonial period of 1607 to 1789, the colonists used bonfires as aids in navigation. In 1713, a group of merchants petitioned the standing legislature for a lighthouse to be built to guide ships through the shoals and islands of Boston Harbor. In 1852 to 1910, the U.S. Lighthouse Board was established. The lighthouses were operated by the military, and the board wanted to change that, so they made it so civilians could control the lighthouses instead of the military. In 1939 to present day, the lighthouses were transferred to the Coast Guard. In the time that the Coast Guard was trying to automate all the lighthouses in the U.S., Boston Light was the last lighthouse to be automated because it remained staffed until Dr. Sally Snowman retired in 2023. Now that I have talked about lighthouses in general, let's zoom in a little to Maryland. The first lighthouses in Maryland were the North Point Range East, North Point Range West, and the Bodkin Island Lighthouse, which were all first lit in 1822. Maryland has about 3,190 miles of coastline, which means it needs lighthouses. In 2024, it was recorded that Maryland has 24 lighthouses and one replica. From Maryland.gov webpage, it says under contract for the United States government, John Donahue, 1786 to 1858, of Havre de Grace, built 12 of Maryland lighthouses. These include the Blackstone Island Lighthouse, Clay Island Lighthouse, Concord Point Lighthouse, Cove Point Lighthouse, Fishing Battery Lighthouse, Fog Point Lighthouse, Lazaretto Point Lighthouse, Piney Point Lighthouse, Point Lookout Lighthouse, Pools Island Lighthouse, Thomas Point Shoal Lighthouse, and the Turkey Point Lighthouse. Let's talk about the kinds of lighthouses there are. First, the Tower Lighthouse. The Cove Point Lighthouse is a tower lighthouse located in Calvert County, Maryland. It stands at 38 feet tall and is the oldest active lighthouse in Maryland. It was commissioned in December of 1828. It has separate keepers' quarters and a building with a foghorn, which was installed in 1837. In 1855, the old reflection system was replaced with a Fresnel lens. Now let's talk about the second kind of lighthouse, a screw pile lighthouse. The Drum Point Lighthouse was originally located at the northern mouth of the Patuxent River, and then it was moved to the Calvert Marine Museum in 1973. It stands at 46 feet tall. It has a bell instead of a foghorn. The lighthouse was commissioned on August 20th, 1883, and remained active until 1962. Now we can talk about the last kind of lighthouse, which is the integral lighthouse. An integral lighthouse is basically a normal house with a light put on top. The Point Lookout Lighthouse is an integral lighthouse constructed in 1830 by John Donahue. In 1883, it was expanded to 2 full stories, and it stands at 41 feet tall. One part I skipped out on is the Lightship 166, or the Chesapeake, which is a lighthouse on a boat, and it can go anywhere and work in shallow and deep water. It went from Cape Cod, Massachusetts to Fenwick Island in Delaware Bay to the Chesapeake, where it spent most of its time. It was handed over to the National Park Service in 1971, and it was open to the public in the Potomac River. Since 1982, it was transferred to Baltimore, where it is now a museum. Lighthouse keepers normally have their family with them, in a house next to or connected to the lighthouse. Most of the time, the keeper's work was about 24 hours, starting at dusk and ending well after dawn. When some severe storms come around, the light must be in operation for 24 hours until the storm is over. In the 19th century, most lighthouse keepers had slaves that helped with common repairs and tasks, including cleaning the glass in the tower so the light could be easily seen. The first ever lighthouse was a stone tower with a bonfire on top of it to be the beacon for the port so sailors didn't get lost. Then they turned into candles from whale oil and lard that burned several times brighter. People developed parabolic lenses that focused the light into a beam that could be seen from farther away. After that, Augustin Fresnel developed a Fresnel lens that used prisms to amplify the light, and after that, they switched to electric lights. But those weren't energy efficient, so they changed them to LEDs. After all this, the government automated the lighthouses. Back in history, sailors used to navigate using the stars. They transitioned to maps. After that, they used GPS and electronic maps. Now that GPS and navigational systems are so advanced, lighthouses aren't needed anymore. But they are still a symbol of water travel and a visual that you're nearing your home. Lighthouses have lots of rights and responsibilities, including keeping water travel safe and guiding people home. Even the keepers have responsibilities, including keeping the lighthouse working and helping in case of emergencies, including wrecks. The United States only has about 670 active lighthouses. Maryland has 14 active lighthouses, but 25 are standing. From screw pile lighthouses to tower and integral to lightships, lighthouses are an important part of history, and even if they aren't relevant nowadays, the light guides us to the end of our journey home. The disappearance of lighthouses is a sad experience, because lighthouses were a necessity back in history. This is why lighthouses are a necessity, and is also why they have rights and responsibilities. Lighthouses are being forgotten as a navigational aid, and they are now remembered as a tourist attraction, and they are used in competitions to visit them all. But maybe this is not a bad thing. Maybe it is a way to bring in revenue and increase their popularity. I think that when they are visited and used in competitions, the history of them should be provided much more.